Welcome back, everybody. We're here with Charles of the Black and Gold podcast of Appy State because his partner Alex is too scared to show his face again after ditching Tim and I in North Carolina last year.
We don't hold grudges around here.
Nah, no grudge.
Welcome back, Charles. How you doing, man? You doing good?
Doing good, boys. How have y'all been? It's been a while.
It's been a minute. Inquiring minds want to know, how did the election go? Were you reelected to?
Oh yeah, I guess everybody, except for the 8 people I know in Atlanta, like face to face and know their government name. Yes, it did go well. I won by 31 whopping votes.
Wow,
is
close race.
So that's like a landslide in Boone, North Carolina, right?
I mean, I see what you're saying, but no, I mean, it was. I don't remember the exact percentage. I think it's 0.14%. So.
Oh wow, man! Did it go to a recount? Did they actually do it?
Yeah. They called for a recount, and I gained a vote, which was even better. It was like I kicked the extra point.
Well, congratulations to you. Congratulations.
It was like when Georgia State called those 3 timeouts and we scored a touchdown in 2014.
Wow. You know what? You should never let us live that down. Ever. You should just never, ever do that because it was so stupid.
I don't think
even us sitting there watching the game, we're like, what the hell's happening? What are we doing? This is embarrassing for us.
I don't think we'll ever stop talking about that either, just ourselves. Like it's like folklore now.
It was a cold, snowy day on top of the mountain.
Yeah, that's we'll never live that one down, and as we should not. I think that's sadly enough. That's going to be Coach Trent Miles' legacy, not taking us to a bowl game after an 0-12 season, but no, icing the kicker when it's 0 degrees outside in a blizzard. So, yeah. Anyhow,
I think Ryan has some bats flying around in his house.
Yeah,
you got a bat
going back there.
we laugh, but he did a podcast once from on vacation, and he actually did have a bat flying around him. And he dropped off. All right, Charles, let's get into it, man. Not the Appalachian State season that we're used to seeing here, man. What is going on up there?
I think it looks a lot worse than it actually is.
You lost to Old Dominion, man. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, we played in a bunch of these, these
smells bad, right?
1 possession games. Yeah, it did. Don't get us wrong. We thought that was probably the end of the year, so to speak. And we'll see how a lot of these things play out. But you've got what I've always thought all along is that the East race for second place was going to be close, no matter what. Whether that team ends up 6 and whoever takes it is 6-2 or 5-3 with a bunch of tiebreakers. That's all still out there for us. It's all still out there for you guys, Georgia Southern, your friends, and Coastal, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I guess when you have in the first game, the guy you expect to be your starting quarterback break a finger on a handoff, just tragically, really a weird injury. That's the first time I've heard of anything like that, and he tries to play through it and then realizes, hey, it's actually broke and I can't go. So steps in Joey Aguilar on the last drive of the first half against Gardner-Webb and throws a touchdown pass on his first drive and then leads us to a victory. You got to remember that guy was in junior college football last year, like junior college football in California. Couldn't be further away from Boone and App State.
We know what that's like. Nick Arbuckle came from JUCO in California.
So there's an adjustment period. And he probably was expecting at some point, hey, I'll play in this game. But he probably wasn't expecting that, hey, I'm going to play in this game and then I'm going to play in all of them since. So I think that's probably it took some getting used to. But what was really interesting is that, we played North Carolina in game 2 and he lights it up and we're like, hey, this is what we thought we had, and then we had some games. Yeah, this is it. Hey, we're back.
You just reload and move the next guy up.
It doesn't matter who's here. You just keep going. And, lost that tough one, an overtime tough one. That's a 1 possession game in my book. It's a coin flips kind of deal. And took care of ECU, which isn't hard this year. But just had one of those games at Wyoming where we couldn't get it in the end zone, kicked a lot of field goals, fluke play. A touchdown
Dude, that was your
returned
lowest,
by a field goal. Yeah,
lowest scoring game, right? 22 points or something.
22-19. Yeah,
19 points. Yeah,
fluke game. Play Monroe. We needed a 54-yarder at the end of regulation to win
right?
that one. That was not what we were expecting. And the list goes on. Coastal was close.
Let's talk about 41-40 against Monroe. What the hell? Did you expect a shootout game because you guys that was down there in Monroe, right?
Yeah. And so that was after the Wyoming game. So this was 2 back-to-back home road games. And as we all know, that Monroe is not easy to get to. It's not the best accommodations. It's not the best anything. The meals suck. The hotel beds suck. You're just lucky if it's just, and it's probably swampy down there in September still.
We still don't even know where it is technically on this podcast.
We can't find it on the map.
I think it's northeast Louisiana is the best way I can say it, or maybe it's not even there, but let's just say in that area. So I think really what it was is that we had a long road trip to Wyoming, and a long road trip to Monroe in back-to-back weeks. And with a young team, they didn't know how to do that.
Right.
And here we are. We're going to have a couple road games in a row, with you guys and James Madison. We're going to figure out, have we learned from that? There's a big difference between getting in a plane twice versus getting in a bus twice for 5 hours. Right. Which is what we're going to deal with. So, that Monroe game was, we were like, oh boy. But it was a situation where Monroe's offense looked terrible, but they had a week off before us. And that was a problem. And so when we played Old Dominion, they had a week and a half off before us. Another team, Southern Miss, had a week off before us. So all this young team stuff, we're facing. We had like 5 teams in a row. We didn't know who the quarterback was going to be. Literally going into the game, you say that against Marshall last year. You're going to be the first. This is going to be the 10th game we play this year, right? We're 5-4, 10th game, and this is going to be the 3rd time we actually are 100% certain who's going to be playing against us as the quarterback. And so you can put, this will be the only time you can put Darren Granger, Drake May, and Grayson McCall in the same sentence as a group. But that's legit. We didn't know who Wyoming's quarterback was going to be. Gardner Webb's was also up in the air because it's first game of the season, and they didn't, they graduated as senior. Monroe had injuries to both quarterbacks. It was not the situation with Coastal, but with Old Dominion, there was a guessing game too between their 2 guys. So we just had to deal with that. And then when Southern Miss came to town, they played a quarterback in the end of their beatdown by South Alabama. That is he going to play? And then Marshall did the same thing. They played a backup to Fancher's Cole Pennington. And so we've been guessing at quarterback situations all year long.
We should phone it into coach and tell him to put some other quarterback in.
McKelly's coming in.
Sure.
So everybody wants.
So typically though, like if the quarterback is up in the air like that, it's because they're like not that good, right?
There was a couple of those games that they were not good. Yeah, and there was a couple where there were injuries too.
Yeah.
So that was kind of one of those things. So not that good, but then G.I. Wright threw like just 50-50 balls, and we lost every single one of them that game at Monroe. Which was just wild. They just everything they threw up, they caught, and they caught in the end zone. We're just like, they couldn't play another game like this if they wanted to, and guess what? They haven't.
Yeah, because they I remember back then, way back in the yonder years, like Monroe, like they were feeling pretty good about themselves back then. I remember when you guys were going down there, they felt like they had a shot in that game, and the outcome of the score looks like they had a shot in the game, but they really haven't put anything together to speak of since then.
That was I hate to say this because it sounds kind of pompous, but man, when people play App. There's a lot of Super Bowl talk, right? Like we got to knock them off, and like that's been that way for decades. Here is that it's a game that everybody circles. So
look, the only reason we've circled it is because we haven't done it yet.
That's it.
There you go.
We're just hoping for that first win.
Hey, we never beat Lafayette before. We scratched that one off this season. So you guys are the next target right now.
Plus, if you ask our friends down south, we've already had our Super Bowl, so we're done.
That's what they think. Going to Space Pro is a Super Bowl or something. We're like, oh god, no, we're just like ready to get out of there.
Yeah,
run the ball. It doesn't matter. Don't just run the ball so we can get out.
Yeah, you guys have been rivals for so long. You guys use the same terminology about teams having Super Bowls against them, and that's been their thing. That's their excuse for us having a winning record against them. Is it's our Super Bowl and they just don't care. So
yeah, good football programs care every week. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, that's that's why our fans get upset when we don't look as good as we should have. When we say, "Hey, 5-4 ain't cutting it." So.
Yeah, everybody has a fall from grace at times, but still, I mean, not to say that you guys have had the fall from grace. It's just this just does not look like the App State team that we've grown accustomed to seeing here. So it's we're excited. We've never had App State. We've never been favored in this game. We're favored. I think 2.5 point favorite as far as Vegas goes. 50.
So home
50%.
field.
Home field. That's it.
Home field. Yeah. 52% by ESPN. So we're feeling pretty good about it. How do you feel about this game coming down here?
I mean, I think when you need that 6th win to get to bowl eligibility, and you're chasing something, and you feel like your backs are against the wall, saying like, our season will be like a failure if we don't get to where we're competing in the East, like we're not contending for the division. That is our goal every year. It's to win the conference, and no matter who we have or what we look like, that's our MO.
Sure.
And so if we have a season like we did last year where that was not the case, and where it could be this year if we lose another conference game, then certainly there will be some people who like to point fingers and do a lot of stuff and say all the nice fun things that teams do when things don't look like or work out how you expect them to.
Do you think? Sorry, guys, I'm just kind of monopolizing this, but I'll let you. I'll back up after this one question.
Still got that sleep haze, man. I'm good. I'm good with you. Just.
Do you think that a season like this is more likely to draw fans out to an away game down here in Atlanta, or if you guys were, undefeated, like having a JMU style season right now? We call him Jimmy Madison, a Jimmy Madison style season right now, that would draw more fans. Like, I'm just trying to gauge what kind of fan base we could expect to see, because since you guys have had our number the entire time, a lot of fans would be like, that's a mail-in win, but no, they want to be down there to see a potential bowl victory or bowl eligibility.
Super Bowl.
Yeah. I don't. When you think about going on away trips, I don't think you look at the calendar and say, is this something that we're going to do at the last second? I think you decide. Mm-hmm. So it's one of the easier trips, and it has been. Now, James Madison is an easy-ish trip. And now in the cycle that we're in, we have that game right behind yours, and we play Southern the next week at home. And what we just have 2 home games in a row. So if you're thinking about, I'm going to go to some games and I'm going to go to an away game, and you think, which one should I skip? There's going to be some fans that are going to say, maybe it's Georgia State, maybe it's James Madison. We haven't played at James Madison since they did their one-sided stadium. So
it's only one side if you don't stare at the other side. You only show one side. It's perfect.
So our fans have been to the stadium that y'all play in, and so there may be some newness in that. But we also have a large alumni base in Atlanta, and if the weather's going to be good and it's 2:00, there's I'm not to say that we won't have any, but it may not be as big as in the past. I don't think our record really has as much to do about that than just the scheduling of the games.
Just the record, you're looking at 50s, maybe 60s, and a bunch of rain. That's what the forecast is calling for right now. So
like perfect weather all the way leading up to it, and then perfect weather afterwards. But that day is just no good.
Exactly. Oh yeah, today was 79 degrees when I was walking my kids to dance. It's gorgeous out here, but Saturday, no, it's gonna be cold and wet. It's gonna be disgusting. So.
In a typical weather pattern, cold and wet is what we do. That is our spring ball. So we're not, that's not something that we're not used to. Last week we had what we would call perfect weather. It was like 65 and sunny. Oh yeah, that was for tailgating for a night game, and we eat that up. Yeah, did it drop to like high 40s? That was nothing. We don't wear coats in that kind of weather. We just all right, time to put on a sweatshirt. But I think we're ready for that. I mean, it's once you lose that daylight savings time, our stadium is in a bowl and where we practice. So, I mean, I'm dead serious. Like 5:10, you're in the shade. So once that sun goes down, it feels 10 degrees cooler real quick. Even if it's in the mid 60s, it goes to feeling in the 50s real quickly. So, I don't think the weather will be a factor. I don't think that will be a factor for bringing our fans out or how the game will be played.
I promise, Tim. I promise I would not ask another question until you got one in.
Yeah, I guess tell us a little bit about. It looks like your offense is pass heavy, seemingly. Or is that what you're expecting us to see, or has Aguilar settled in? Are you guys trying to like balance that out a little bit more over the season?
It's a really good question, Tim. I mean, App State's going to pride themselves on running the ball, and I think we have been more stubborn with it than we've wanted to be this year. And we started the season and like Nate Noel had like 25 plus carries for like 4 or 5 games in a row. He got hurt against Coastal, tweaked an ankle. Couldn't go against Old Dominion. Couldn't really go against Southern Miss, but played more snaps this past weekend against Marshall. I would assume he'd be healthier. But our offensive line has really not created like the gashing running plays that we would expect they would have. Luckily, let's say this. Luckily, Aguilar is a mobile quarterback. He's not a statue back there. He's not a Chase Bryce. He can get down the field a little bit, but he's not a dual threat. He's not Darren, all right, that y'all would think of it. Like that's a design play. It's something that it works. But when he gets going downfield, he can carry a little bit of a load and he can sting you. So he didn't like go down. He doesn't like slide or anything like that. He's looking for contact. But probably last week more than any, and sometimes because of being forced to, I think we abandoned the run, so to speak, last week quicker than we ever have. Even though the game was still tight, I do think that's our best strategy is to let Aguilar spin it a little bit. I think that's where we're at our best. I think our receivers are our best asset because of that. Caden Robinson and Christian Horn are really good. Tight ends always do their thing. And so I think that's where we want to be, but that's not going to say that we're not going to try and establish or get the running game going early. If it doesn't work, it doesn't. But we've been in some holes this year and still stuck to the running game. We've gone down multiple scores to, without scoring to Monroe, Coastal. We were down early to ECU, and we still kind of stuck to the game plan. So I don't think we're just going to come out zipping it, but I think y'all's pass defense is susceptible to it, and I think that over the years we've always been able to throw it on you, except for last year when we decided we had to. We found some room in the run game and. Just kind of went that direction after falling down a couple scores to y'all early.
Yeah, that was a
fun, terrible time. Terrible for us, not for you.
Yeah, well,
understandable.
Yeah.
I'm look at that one. You said we went down early, but yeah, you guys won 42-17 on that Wednesday night. Man, it felt like it wasn't that bad.
Because it was 14-0. It was 14-0 in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's the state way. Give us hope and then just rip it out from underneath us. So yeah, that sounds about right.
Earlier you were talking about the rough season and having to do with a lot of external factors, like scheduling and quarterbacks and all that stuff. But what do you think? Like the internal stuff, like weaknesses, like what are we going to see Georgia State taking advantage of on Saturday?
I think that's something that Marcus Carroll likes to run the ball. Kind of between the tackles. I think that's where we've struggled a little bit. Southern Miss gave us some different looks. Of course, they changed their play caller right before the game. The coach stopped calling plays and they gave it to a guy who never had done it before. Against North Carolina, we, if you want to go that far back, we let Amarian Hampton run loose, but he's one of the top runners in the NCAA, and we gave up a lot of yards to him. But we so right, and up until a few weeks ago, so was Nate Noel. But we have kind of messed with our defense a little bit. So our defensive alignment has changed. we're putting our best athletes on the field no matter who they are. So if that is 3 safeties or 4 corners, pull a linebacker off, whatever. So we're now going to more of a star, and we're kind of like daring you to run at the same time daring you to pass. So, I mean, I understand that Marshall is struggling. They were starting to have that decline when they played you guys. I watched most of that game.
I think we were part of that decline. We were the instigator of that decline.
Yeah,
we were pretty good in that game.
Outside of Ali and Fancher, there's just not a lot there,
right?
With Marshall, but we had 3 interceptions, 2 that were in just bad throws, and we ball hawked. Same guy got both of those, and we had another one, an outside linebacker, make a diving end zone, diving sideline interception that really hyped the team up, and it felt like that we got a lot of energy on the sidelines against Marshall, and so I feel like we're finding ourselves. It's a little late in the game to be finding yourself, but it may not be a bad time for it either. So
it's a horrible time. Don't do it now.
Come on, man.
Just wait a week. Wait a week.
Find yourself next week. Throw us a bone. Come on, man.
You could be the heroes of the Sun Belt and beat JMU.
Exactly.
We might just be. They're gonna lose to somebody. I don't care who beats them.
I want to go undefeated and not go to a bowl game. That's what I want.
I actually put that in my notes tonight. Was like it's after everybody in the Sun Belt trying to beat these guys. It's going to be UConn of all teams. out of everybody, they're going to stumble and fall into the end zone so many times. And JMU's gonna be like, "What the hell just happened to us?" I'm not predicting that, but how?
No. I'm undefeated. No bowl game.
Undefeated. Declare themselves national champions and put a banner up.
Yeah. Oh my God, no.
I think the dangerous thing their coaches said is that, quote unquote, we're kind of America's team. And I don't think you put your own label on that. I don't know if you've seen that, but you do not say that about yourself. You let somebody else say that, but the awakening will be cruel for them. I don't know who's going to do it. I would love for it to be us. We owe them one.
After last week, man, I hope it's you guys. I hope it's anybody, but I'd be very, very happy for us to get our first win over App State, and then for you guys to turn around and silence them and shut them up. Because this is a question I had actually written down for you. You guys have, decades of history with the worst fan base in all of college football with that trash down south. How does this Jimmy Madison stuff compare? Because I feel like, man, they are the most arrogant, pompous pieces of garbage I've come across. So
it's social media is certainly hard to gauge that, but they definitely have that that aura around them that kind of Coastal did when they came on the scene when nobody else was playing college football and abiding by the rules. But it smells the same way. I will say that I've been to Harrisonburg, whatever it is. I don't care.
We don't know.
And I was ran into some similar type snobbiness that you would see in Statesboro. But Statesboro, to me, fans are more front runners. They'll talk more when they know they're good, but when they're not, they won't.
They hide. Yeah.
Yeah, they hide. So, but whatever you want to call it about the fans up in James Madison, they've got that private school thing to them, and I hate to drop those stereotypes out there, but it just kind of is.
We are petty. We are as petty as they can come. So
it's even more than the rest of us.
I am petty. I am as petty as they come.
They're just a little out of touch. I don't know. They just feel like they're seconds away from joining the ACC tomorrow. Like,
yeah, it's to me it's interesting that the way they evolved. They declined invites to the FBS. When they had opportunities to, because they didn't know what they wanted to do.
Right.
And they were kind of the Montanas of the East. If you want to go back to FCS football for a little history lesson, that Montana is scared to move up. North Dakota State, you probably say the same thing. Like, hey, we're winning. Let's stick here. Let's not go lose.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's what they, capitalized on in a watered down FCS when teams like App and Georgia Southern and others weren't there. They were an afterthought until, they were a strong program. Don't get me wrong. We played them in the playoffs many a times, but once we left, they became like that team in the East that, was able to take advantage of certain things that they won't be able to in a couple of years once they get their scholarship situation and student fees and all that good stuff whittled down.
Is that going to happen to them, or is their state going to tell them, like,
it's a state law?
State law is going to say, hey, change this in X years.
If they're doing it to Virginia, they're going to do it to James Madison.
All right. Well, reality's coming very soon.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Yeah. Couldn't happen to a better fan base. Those guys are just man.
I will say I went on the away side last game. I did meet.
You befriended everybody over there.
Fan.
We went to go check out new seats, and you spent the entire time schmoozing it up with a bunch of purple people. It was disgusting.
They gave me streamers and everything. It was great.
We don't do purple at App State. Western, Furman, James Madison, anybody and everybody in between. We
Southern
despise
purple,
that color.
Same thing, right? Yep.
Ryan
likes who that Furman is, but they sound stupid.
Yeah.
Another school where it costs a lot of money to go to.
Isn't Furman where Granger came from?
Maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right. He is. You didn't know that?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
David.
Yeah. No, I'm the one that brought it up.
You've been drinking,
but you weren't sure.
You've also been drinking. We'll give you a pass.
It took me a while. I had to get back on the boat. No, I had to get back off the wagon. That's what it was. I was on the wagon for too long. So, Tim, you got any more questions about the game? I got another question I want to bug Charles about, but that's unrelated. But you got any game stuff?
What's the app take? Does Jimmy Madison deserve a waiver or not?
Oh God,
that's like the hot question. Everyone has a glaring opinion about it.
So I think we're probably not the guys to ask because we had the rules, we went through them, and we abided by them.
No, you're exactly the people to ask for that very reason.
So, if you for a non-biased take, right? Georgia Southern came in the league when 8-0, and didn't go to a bowl game. Right, I don't think they got a conference. I don't know if they got a conference title banner. I don't really care.
No, they did not. They did not. They did not.
They did not.
Yeah, I know they definitely didn't go to a bowl game. I just don't know if they gave them like a pseudo.
They did get conference champion.
Okay.
They did get conference champion. They have that, but it was because there was no championship game to play in.
Right.
Had there been, then they would not have.
Right.
But we've talked way too much about them. I don't like that.
Yeah. So we sat out our year. I mean, we started 1-5 in 2014, and then won our last 6, and so we were 7-5, certainly eligible, had the requisite wins, and we petitioned, and they were like, "Yeah, sorry." But I think eventually what happens to them is they'll just be stuck behind everybody else. They're going to be one of the last 1 or 2 teams that can get a bid based off stuff. It'll be.
They'll be ahead of the 5 and 7 teams.
I think they'll actually be behind the 5 and 7 APR teams.
There's so many bowls,
I could be wrong,
though. It's hard to believe. It's hard to imagine a scenario they don't end up going somewhere, which is, it's a shame. But it is the rules. And that's what we're saying. Stick to the rules. That's all I care about. We've all had these people, and I think the rules are stupid, but we shouldn't make exceptions for them. We should just change them. We should change the rule.
Yeah, the only way to get out of a contract is hire lawyers. They signed one, and they just don't like what they signed from a year ago or 2 years or whenever it was.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. I don't understand why any Sunbelt team would be advocating for them. That's a spot that a Sunbelt team, an existing member would be taking. Why would you want them to get ahead of you, especially when it comes to conference championship or something? I'm like, no. You think the Trash Down South is advocating for JMU, Jimmy Madison, to be able to be conference champion eligible? No way in hell.
And they were happy to keep us out of CAA consideration when we left FCS. So it's like, come on, guys! These are the rules. You enforced them. You agreed with them. You signed a contract. Come on, what are we doing here?
It's just one more year.
I think they get into a bowl game. I don't think the Sun Belt should let them participate because basically you're changing the rules in the middle of the season. Because if you stopped right now and said, you know what, we're going to let them, then these last 3 games to us mean nothing.
Right. You're competing for nothing. Yeah.
So you go from working towards something to being it's pulled out from underneath you. So who are you giving a hard time there? Are you going to satisfy one school and piss off 6 others? I don't think that's the best way to go about it. I don't think that's good for the viability and the strength of the conference going forward. Now, Southern Miss might feel differently because they were in a conference with, not really in a conference with them, but the CUSA 3-1 is the new school Sun Belt.
Right.
ODU may feel a certain way, but then they probably hate him. Marshall probably doesn't care. They just want to fire Charles Huff.
If we say yes, can we fire him? Okay, we'll give it to him.
So yeah, I mean, we're not on their side by any stretch.
Good. Yeah, neither are we. I actually got into a bit of an altercation with a guy leaving the game on Saturday. He's a little cardboard sign, "Let us go to a bowl," and I was like, just shut the up, like just stop. Was
he like going out to the highway to like stand there and
no, he was defacing he was defacing Hank Aaron standing right in front of him with his ugly little cardboard sign. Like, what is he even prepared for it? Anyhow,
can't do that.
All right. Do you guys have any more questions for Charles about our game before I ask my last question?
No, we're good. Go ahead.
All right. So this is something we've been talking about quite a bit because, man, back on the trash down south garbage. So after playing our game a couple weeks ago, all the social media guys, everybody, they say that those trash down south guys say that it's not a rivalry. Like, all right, cool. But their reasoning, this is their reasoning for us not being a rival. You can't be our rival. App State is. And so I'm just curious if you guys think that they have the ability to count to 2, to know that you can have more than one rival or not. Is that an ability? Do they even have gray matter down there in Statesboro to do that?
I don't know if they've got the matter. But yeah, you think that they are, the kings of the toothbrush or the teeth brush. If anybody can tell you, yeah, you certainly can. I mean, before Georgia, we didn't even know where the Georgia Southern was. We were bigger deal with Marshall than we were with Georgia Southern.
Right.
Marshall replaced Southern for us, and now we've got them both back. So that's a lot of fun. Honestly, no offense to you guys or Coastal, or we had more history with James Madison, honestly, than most. We've only played Old Dominion like twice now, or now 3 times.
If we promise to not take offense to it, will you let us beat you on Saturday?
We're not going to let anything happen over a podcast.
That's what won.
You're sounding like Louisiana a little bit.
Oh, no, God,
like
no.
in 2020.
Oh man, that is the biggest insult. You have no idea how big of an insult that is to me.
Yeah, and around here we don't give them any more than just Lafayette. We don't Louisiana them.
I'd still in short text I refer to them as La. I mean, that's just the easiest thing to do. And I'm sorry they hate it.
They do hate it.
And as soon as you tell me you hate that, oh, okay, I'm going to use it more.
You guys are Appy to me. I don't know why you hate it. I would embrace that. To me, Appy is cool.
I guess because there's no Y in Appalachian, that's probably got something to do with it. And
there's also no state there either, but no one's saying anything about that at all.
Appalachian is a state of mind.
That's a state of mind.
No, it was the Tennessee newspapers used it as a derogatory deal, and then the Marshall guys picked up on it. So UTC and ETSU are like Appy, and I guess because it just made sense in a newspaper column instead of saying Appalachian.
I think that's the place that it makes the least sense. Just to, some guys sitting around drinking some beers, we talk about some like Appy Sports, whatever. That's fine.
Which you can also just put a period and save you some space versus typing out that Y. I don't know why I did it, whatever, but it is what it is. It happened, and we try not to make a big deal out of it.
But not ASU. But not ASU. You guys are not ASU, right?
That's Arizona State.
Right. Well, it's
also
if you ask people like my age and older, I mean, we did ASU chants. It's still part of like the fight song, kind of to an extent. So it's been more of a 2014 on where they've tried to get away from the school administration, I'll say, to brand our school as App State versus ASU because there are other ASUs,
Right.
Arkansas State, Arizona State. The list. There's a couple others, but
Yeah,
there are no other
within
App
conference.
States. Yeah.
Totally forgot about them.
Within conference as well.
Isn't it funny how quickly Arkansas State has become
Faded.
nobody in anything?
Yeah.
Do they do anything good besides women's bowling?
They install a waterfall in their stadium. That's what they did.
Women's bowling, not even a conference or a Sun Belt conference sport. So
Right.
Yeah. Which is we could get into a whole thing about like non-Sun Belt conference sports with the archeries and the sailings and the weird stuff like that. Maybe that should be our April Fool's episode, where all we do is we cover all the non-Sun Belt sports of all the Sun Belt teams.
Bring me on for field hockey. I'm ready to go.
There you go. Ready to go. Hey, excellent, Charles. Thanks. Are you going to make the trip down to Atlanta this weekend?
I was on the edge, but probably not.
Hey, I told you on the weather, not you don't want to come down now.
Yeah, it's funny because like we have a basketball game. It's on TV at like 4, and so
we have TVs in Atlanta now. We have big TVs. We have large.
I can't watch the basketball game and the football game at the same time. So that was probably the kicker for me. Plus, the wife's taking the kids to grandma's, and so I have the house to myself. So
over the river and through the woods.
We're not on last call yet, so I won't say what I want to say. But
no, we have our basketball. It's the MAC Challenge game, right? We have our game.
Yeah.
Who do y'all have?
Western. We're at Western. Well, we're all at, but Western Michigan.
Are y'all play Saturday?
We play Saturday at 1 o'clock. Yeah. Okay. So as we start breaking down the TV, is when the game will be coming on.
Oh, that's rough. That's really rough. We play at 4. I think a lot of the other games are like there's a couple tonight, a couple tomorrow.
Yeah, I think they start. Yeah, I think there is one that started on Wednesday night, like a
trophy or anything. Are they exchanging like some like a sack of coal or something from the Midwestern states? Like I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Old corn.
What do we give them? Like some mullets and moonshine. I don't know what the hell.
Fun stuff.
All right, thanks, Charles. Thanks for joining us. We talking to Alex before. We talked about maybe we'll do this again for basketball this season. So
we should. We should stop talking about it and be about it.
I know. Every year we talk about getting you guys on or coming on there to talk about basketball, and it never happens. So
absolutely,
basketball season is so difficult with the 2 games a week and just pushing through everything. It's hard to get it all together, but we'll do it. Thanks again for joining us. I really appreciate it. Say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye, guys.
Goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Seriously.
Thanks.
All right.